Hello, everyone. This is Mama Eagle coming to you from the beautiful Pacific Northwest. How is everyone doing? Happy 7-7 portal. If you know what 7-7 portal is, feel free to put a heart, put a like, put it in the chat. I haven't done a live like this in a very long time, but was guided to come on right now, which just happened to be 7:47 Pacific time, and I just heard be here for y'all. So anyone who has been following my journey from being down south, dealing with the wildfires in the midst of freeing 2 U.S. Marines, to coming up to the Pacific Northwest beyond the wildfires and everything else, enjoying a fresh start and getting ready to acquire a little place where we can foster at-risk youth and pets as well, since I used to run animal rescue in Washington. So I'm really excited. It's been an adventure getting up here, but everybody arrived safe and sound. We have been, how do you say, living on faith, living by faith, waiting for the right place to open up, and we are a heartbeat away from that. It's like I said, been an interesting journey. We know that redirection is divine protection, and coming off of Fourth of July weekend, whether you celebrate or don't celebrate, I also counsel veterans beyond PTSD, veterans who are suicidal, etc. I myself have had PTSD for about 20 years now, coming out of a domestic violence situation and was raised in the military. So it's the least I can do to help give back to the veterans and other people that are, dealing with complex trauma and things of that nature. So, um, I know that a lot of people have, sensitivity to fireworks and things like that. Cats and dogs run away. Hi, how are you? And I'm praying everybody reunites with their fur babies. Check the shelters, check the neighborhood boards, things like that. That's always the easiest way to do it. Hi everyone, how are you? Happy 7-7 portal. I want to know what kind of miracles y'all have experienced so far. We had a couple unexpected hiccups pop up, and we're walking to get dinner here in beautiful Salem, Oregon. And my daughter had said the other day that she was wishing that she not only had pizza, but that she had pizza from a specific place that has really good pizza. And this gentleman comes walking towards us who just happens to be staying in the same hotel where we're staying, waiting for the place to open up to foster these kids, and hands us a box. And the box is, he just got it, it's piping hot, it's got pizza, it's got mojo potatoes, it's got, all these things, right? And said, would you guys like some pizza? And we thought he was going to just, offer us a slice of pizza. He handed us the whole box. And we literally stood there in the middle of the sidewalk crying, because that's the kind of magic that is in the air tonight. Not tit for tat, not, hey, I'll give you my pizza if you, whatever, smile for me, I don't, y'all can fill in the blanks, right? No, he just handed it to us. And it just kept going, like an angel with invisible wings. And the minute that happened, I said, you know what? More miracles are coming. Something is going to open up for us to get the right um, place, to foster these at risk kids that needed it yesterday and are going to need it even more tomorrow. Um, it's just, powerful, powerful stuff going on. So, good Lord, all these notices popping up. How are you guys doing? Let's see. You want a shout out, please? Um, What does it say? It's hard for me to see. Caregiver? Is that what it says? Oh no. It's hard for me to see the words on the thing. Wilbur, is that the name? I see Wilbur. I see Ryan. You have a dog too? Oh my gosh. I had a wolf for 15 years and she was absolutely amazing. Dream on, Jeremiah. If your last name's Little, dream on even more. Um, saying facts. Ryan Riker, that's awesome. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. For some reason, I know when I was on Facebook last night, North Carolina, lots of people lost their dogs in North Carolina with the fireworks. So he sent some really powerful prayers out that way, and Texas as well, because everybody knows what's going on in Texas. If you don't know what's really going on in Texas, do some research and keep praying. Keep praying for the kids, the families. Um, Everybody, you know, people trying to make being able to, you know, have farms and ranches and things and providing for their families fair all around. Pray for those people because that river rose 30 feet, I believe, in 2 hours, and that is not natural. So, you know, keep praying. So if y'all want to invite your friends on here, if you didn't read the description, I am an interfaith minister, so that means that I work with people from all faiths, from agnostic to Zen, A to Z. I also, you know, work with angel cards, butterfly cards, you know, things of that nature. I always try and keep things positive, you know, especially everybody, you know, all you got to do to hear the other side of it is turn on the news. I do have to give a shout out to all my veterans who are mobilizing right now, 2 million strong, that not only uh, brought miracles to Standing Rock, where my family's from, but are gonna bring miracles heading back east too. Put it that way. So if you are a veteran, my heart is with you. If I can get this housing secure, you know, to get all my certifications, everything in order, to foster, you know, the kids and the pets that need it right now, I will be on a plane as well. So last I heard, the veterans are heading back east. Um, is the 27th of this month. So if anybody can head out there to support, by all means, please do. If you have any friends of yours that are veterans, feel free to invite them onto this live because they will get the respect that they've always deserved. I will never support military industrial complex. If you don't know what that is, research it. But I do respect our veterans and especially our warriors. You don't know the difference between a soldier and a warrior. You know, soldiers of any caliber tend to do what they're told and, you know, can crumble under old gold, put it that way. Warriors do what's right and are guaranteed to win the fight for the good of Mother Earth and all her children. So, you know, if you know somebody who's a veteran, you know somebody that um, you know, is to a point where, you know, they're ready to tell the truth, so they can heal. You know, those are the kinds of people that I work with. Right now, I'm trying to work with a local veteran who had an amazing idea. He's a retired United States Marine, and he had an idea to set up a thrift store that is directly connected to Veterans Affairs. That way, all of the money that is generated from the thrift store actually goes back to the veterans instead of padding the pockets of some corporate dingleberry. So, anybody on here that, you know, what I do, I say a prayer, I bring in your ancestors, I bring in my ancestors. Anybody that thinks that I'm a fake, ask Wolf Blitzer at CNN, since he reached out to me asking for help, that helped to free the first Marine. So, and other people, you know, I don't normally drop names, but in this day and age, you know, I get really tired of people that are fake out there. I get tired of people that are fake and give other people a bad name. You know, I'm not a psychic. I tap in with my ancestors, I tap in with your ancestors, I say a prayer, whatever it can do to help people. So some people are guided here because they need hope, some people are guided because they need clarity, some people are guided here for something they don't even know they need until they hear it. So if anybody has any questions and wants to be able to for me to pull a card for you, I will pull a couple of general cards. If anybody wants a specific card drawn for them or a loved one, if you have a loved one who is in the hospital or anything of that nature, feel free to put their name in the chat. Feel free to I have my email also connected in the description. If you would rather message me privately, that's fine too. So, right now, it being 7/7, the card that I'm pulling for today is Deer. And deer is a number 4, which means blessings in all 4 directions. It also makes me think of 4 weeks. So, somebody tuning into this has a very big miracle that's coming within 4 weeks. It also makes me think of clairaudience, if you know what that is. If you look at this deer and her ears, how they're big and they're alert. This is a mama deer or a female deer. Her ears are always going to be alert to what is going on around her, not just anything questionable that she needs to protect the vulnerable from, but also, opportunities. I'm hearing job offers. I'm hearing promotions. I call it tickling your ear. That's how I explain clairaudience. Some people are extremely clairaudient, like I am, and can hear a conversation that's happening halfway around the world. Sometimes I want to hear it, sometimes I really don't want to hear it. Either way, if you hear it, you're hearing it for a reason. And I'm not talking about other stuff. I'm talking about people that have a balance within themselves and they receive guidance in that way. Um, I always tell people if it's positive guidance, it's coming from a higher source. If it's lower guidance or if it's negative guidance, then chances are it's coming from a lower vibration or ego or something of that nature. So if you look at that deer, what a deer does is they stand absolutely still, especially when you're in a magical time like what's happening right now with this 7/7 gateway that is getting us ready for 8/8, which is the Lion's Gate. You can research all this stuff. It's not woo woo. It's legit. We're still in the midst of solar storms, things like that right now. The Schumann resonance, I think, just spiked. I forget how many percent. You can look on the NASA website. But this deer, isn't really paying much attention to that. She's got her feet firmly on the ground. She's grounded. She is, not just smelling the wind, right, to see what's in the wind, but she's also her ears. If you watch their ears, it's like a horse or cat. They kind of like rotate until they pick up what they need to, right? So imagine if, yeah, she can sense a predator that way and she can make herself, smaller, what have you. But imagine if she was listening for water. She's going to do the same thing. She's going to sniff the air. She's going to rotate her ears, right? So for us, water is life. Water is we're all, in 75% water. So, same thing with us. What is water? It's sustenance. Our ears are rotating, looking for sustenance, looking for something that is life affirming, looking for something that is authentic. So, right now, what's going on is, you got AI, blowing up all over the place, figuratively, literally, rockets going to space, whatever, and it's, um, some people use AI for good things. They use it and they're doing surgery, all this other stuff. But other people use it for not so good things. So, part of what the deer is teaching is to be discerning, I tell people if it makes your heart tingle, then it's a good thing. If it makes your stomach feel funny, then think twice about it, because your ancestors are always communicating with you. Doesn't matter if your ancestors are from Argentina or if they're from Zimbabwe. A to Z, there's always communication that's happening, right? Because your ancestors were praying for all the good that you would do now 7 generations ago. All the good you're doing now or choosing not to do is either healing or handicapping the next 7 generations. So when you think of deer, most people don't think of deer as being strong. You know, if you think of the difference between a lion and a deer, right? You think the lion is stronger than the deer until you try and mess with a mama deer who is protecting her babies. Then you're going to find out just how strong that mama deer is. And let me tell you something, I wouldn't want to be, bitten on the arm by a lion, but I wouldn't want to be kicked in the stomach by a mama deer who's protecting her babies either. And that is something that ready to be on the leader, already second on the leaderboard. Oh, that's awesome. Welcome. So, Mama Deer can also represent motherhood, can represent that saying, tough as a mother, right? It can also represent nurturing. So, there's a saying, nothing as strong as gentleness, nothing as gentle as real strength. One of my friends is the highest ranking Aikido black belt in the world. And when you shake his hand, you would think that, this person can catch a rattlesnake in midair. That's how fast he is, right? He has one of the most, how you say, assuring yet gentle handshakes. Now, granted, if he was shaking somebody's hand who was about to do him dirty, pretty sure he wouldn't shake their hand the way he shook mine, but it speaks to his character. Nothing as strong as gentleness, nothing as gentle as real strength. So, unfortunately, what we're seeing in the media and all this other unholy whatever going on, is this attitude of push past it, bulldoze over it. If you don't like it, too bad. Go somewhere else, all these things, right? Well, this deer, part of the reason that she's so strong is because she is tuned into where her ancestors walked, what her ancestors ate, how they not only survived, but how they thrived. Okay? So, when you're going in a position where you're having your health care taken away, your grandma doesn't know where she's going to get her cancer medicine from, or your kids are freaking out because they don't think they're going to have anything to eat for the summer and stuff like that, right? Sometimes the how do you say, reaction is literally to want to react, right? When we react, we tend to react from our head, right? When we respond, we tend to respond from our heart. So, if you think of this mama deer, she's going to be smart. The minute she senses something's not right, she's going to try and camouflage with her background. If she can't camouflage with her background to protect her babies, she's going to, confront whatever is, she's going to tell her babies to lay low, and she's going to confront and neutralize whatever the enemy is as fast as she can in order to protect those babies. Not just because they're her babies, but because those babies are the only hope for the future going forward. So your ancestors praying for you 7 generations ago, they knew that life wasn't going to be easy, especially now. They knew that there would be challenges. They knew it would be messy, everything else. But they also knew that you were coming into this world with a piece of the puzzle that nobody else has to help piece the rest and best together for the highest good of Mother Earth and all her children. So, just like me sitting here, I was in the midst of wildfires, having freed a second Marine, and I get a message, it's time to go. You need to head north. You need to foster kids. Things are going to be going down, and the kids are going to be needing even more protection. I get up to the Pacific Northwest, and the place that I was supposed to move into, they lied. It wasn't even finished. So, I ended up my stuff in storage in a hotel. What am I doing? Still helping veterans, still helping people that have been trafficked, still helping kids, because that's what we're going to have to do. There's no such thing right now as this is somebody else's problem. It's not somebody else's problem. We all have a piece of the puzzle. And even these, people that are acting like, oh, I've got more money than God. I don't need to care about anybody else. None of this is going to affect my family, blah, blah, blah. That falls under the broadband, whatever you want to call, of karma. So karma is not just bad. Karma is good, good and bad, right? You help somebody, somebody helps you. You screw somebody over, Guess what? You screw somebody's kids over, that's instant karma. That's like standing in front of a freight train and expecting to stop it with your hand. It ain't gonna happen. Okay? So, whatever reason you're guided to this, live that I'm doing right now, yes, I have my cards. Yes, we're talking about the medicine cards, which are by Jamie Sams and David Carson. Absolutely amazing people, amazing cards. I don't just use these cards for divination to help find kids that are missing and help free Marines and things of that nature, but I also use them to help veterans heal, to help women that have been through domestic issues heal, to help kids that have already been through the gamut of the foster system heal, okay? If you want to get a set of the cards, Barnes& and Noble, Amazon, anywhere, I recommend it. If you're an empath and you're not sure how to shield yourself, get a set of the cards. If you're a student or any profession that you're working in, if you need help connecting with your ancestors, these cards will help. They'll help you to heal the past, the present, the future. They'll help you to understand because they're all animal spirits. There's nothing bad in these cards. Crow is 24. It's discernment. You were just talking about that. It's transformation. So the next time that you see a crow fly over, you're not just going to sit there and go, "Oh, hey, it's a black bird." You're going to say, "Oh, wow, this person that just offered me a deal on the car, and I won't open the trunk for some reason. Maybe I need to open that trunk and make sure that A, there's nothing funky in there, B, the truck opens and closes, without getting stuck or falling off or whatever." It's discernment, right? But it's also letting you know that there is transformation within 24 hours. So it's telling you, get ready, open your hands to receive a miracle, right? So it's interesting, we're just talking about Texas. Every time I see this card, armadillo, I think of Amarillo or Amarillo, as some people say. Like that saying, George Strait, I think, Amarillo by morning, right? If anyone on here is a country music fan. And if you look at armadillo, what is armadillo? Armadillo is tough on the outside and soft on the inside. So when armadillo feels like it's being threatened, it rolls in a ball and it goes, to camouflage itself so that it can be protected, right? So every one of these animals has something that they can teach you going forward. You know, when you start talking about the 7-7 portal, right? You're talking about the number 14. So 14 can go to a 5, which is Leo energy. That takes us to Lionsgate. But it also reminds me of 144. So if you're familiar with 144,000 angels, if it's something that resonates with you, look into it. Chances are you're one of them. And it goes without saying to research it even further how animals and children react to people that are connected to that number, 144. I'm not talking about Armageddon, Doomsday, all that stuff. I'm talking about 144,000 angels. Some of y'all are twin flames, which I'll talk about in a minute, coming together in a time that's needed most, which is now. Age of Aquarius, Year of the Snake. The snake is another animal that represents protection. It represents alchemy, and it represents transformation, right? So, I would recommend anybody, I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what ancestral background you are, I don't care how old you are. I mean, obviously, if you're under 18, you're probably going to ask your parents permission or have you, but um, it's working with animal spirits. And right now we are seeing a lot of people who have either distanced themselves from their ancestors or think they have distanced themselves from their ancestors, and they can basically get away with treating anyone how they want to, including animals. They can get away with selling animals, and worse, right? Let me tell you something. Every single life that is on this planet right now, from the tiny little microscopic whatever in the ocean to the eagle that's flying over the mountains that Is now trying to find its way back to its nest because of all these fireworks and whatnot, right? Every single being on this earth right now has a purpose. And it's becoming more and more evident, right? We all have a piece of the puzzle, including the wild horses that you see in Wyoming, including the sharks that are in the ocean, including, even organisms that we may not like. We had a queen ant fly into our hotel room the other day, and I could have freaked out and been like, oh my God, it's an ant, oh my God. But I know these cards, and ant represents community. Queen is the vibration of the divine feminine. So she came in, A, because she felt safe, B, because she had a message. Her message was stand in your power, call in your community, work with your community, right? And if what I'm saying is resonating with someone on here as a fellow divine feminine, etc., now you know why. Little things like that. There is no accident. So from now until the time whenever, right, you get a ladybug lands on your windshield, it's a message. You have a cat come up to you and start rubbing up against you for no reason. It's a message. You see a hawk fly over, it's a message. Okay? If you want to know the basic messages of what they're trying to tell you, then get these cards. Right now, I just pulled raccoon, which is security, and I pulled swan, which is state of grace. So what does that mean? Raccoons are also, and I hate using the word animals because where I come from we don't use the word animals, but raccoons are, they're it's a community. They're not solitary, right? So, if you're blessed to have grandparents that made it through the Great Depression and all this other stuff, and you're blessed to still be able to talk with them, or you have their memories written down or what have you, right? Everything that got them through the hardest times had to do with community. It had to do with barter and trade. It had to do with respecting people for what they can provide, not what they can't provide. Okay, so the strong protected the weak, and the weak prayed for the strong. This was how it worked. And going forward, especially once my buddies, make that trek to back east, 2 million veterans showing up at once, they don't come to play. They're not coming to start trouble, they're coming to stop it. And, when you're talking about community, if you don't have a community right now, if you feel like you're an outsider, or nobody understands you, or nobody cares, or what have you, you came to this live for a reason. Okay, you are now Ohana. I have officially adopted you. I don't care if you're a pain in the ass that makes snide comments, you are still Ohana. Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind and no one gets forgotten, because everyone has a piece of this puzzle. So when you look at raccoon, which ironically, when you scramble the letters in raccoon, you get corona. Okay, and I'm not talking about whatever the hell happened in 2020. I'm talking about crown. I'm talking about your crown chakra opening up. Okay, so some people may be feeling tingling on the top of their head. That is your crown chakra. If you're not familiar with the basic 7 chakras, you can research those. Okay, I am a Dakini. I know what the chakras are, I know what they're for. Technically, we have 108 at least. You have chakras that are in the palms of your hands. That's why when you put your hands together to pray, no matter what, how do you say, faith you come from, you feel that power, right? Whether you're agnostic or Zen, it doesn't matter. You feel that power because of those chakras in your hands that are activating to be able to receive a miracle. I found out something because, we learn something new every day, right? So I wrote a book like a year ago, and the book was to help free the second Marine, which it did on January this year. And the book was talking about how the word Om in certain words, diplomacy, woman, even the word complain, right? When you highlight the word Om, it builds a bridge from heaven to earth for miracles to come for the good of Mother Earth and all her children, right? Well, even I didn't know that the original spelling of Om, which is Aum, is directly connected to Nikola Tesla's frequency of 369. And I got goosebumps. I just found this out yesterday, okay? So I'm really glad to be able to share it with you guys. You know, if you need to speed up what you're praying for, go on YouTube and look at 369. Look at Nikola Tesla frequency. When you hit a recording of that frequency that resonates with your heart, you will know, because you will feel that tingling. You'll feel, you know, your chakras lining up. You'll feel hopeful, optimistic, you know, divine, I just heard, right? So, you know, with all this stuff going on right now, you know, 2025 is a 9 vibration, it's completions. So, all this unholy, whatever, twisted, whatever the heck that we're seeing, you know, splattered all over social media and all this stuff, right? It's a means to an end, it's a completion. And it can either be a completion, as in, you know, somebody tripping and falling flat on their face, or we can highlight the Om in completion. And what that does, again, it aligns with that 369 vibration. That means that it is a completion of game playing, lying, people having to settle for less than what they need, want, and deserve, right? The rich getting richer and not giving a crap if the poor people have food or not. You know, it's a completion of all of that, right? It's the narcissists doing what narcissists do best, and that is pissing off empaths to the point where they have to evolve. They have to step into their power. Okay, so this handful of, you know, twisted chatterheads, whatever you want to call them, that think that they can manipulate everybody and, you know, starve, you know, half the population and all this jazz, right? Um, think they're above the law and beyond reproach, karmically and beyond, you know, all that jazz. Every term in history, there's been somebody, right? In actuality, what they are doing is they are simultaneously waking up every single empath in the entire world, especially the mothers, pissing them off so bad that they cannot stay asleep, they cannot stay ignorant, they cannot stay silent, and they cannot stay inactive. Okay? So imagine if you think that you are taking over the entire world, and in actuality, what you're doing is you are pissing off and waking up every single flippin' empath in the entire United States, let alone the world, to flip the script and ensure that the sacred wins against the profane, aka love wins. Because that's what's happening. And it's not happening all at once. It's not meant to. Everybody is being, you know, triggered and woken up and reminded and brought back together. And, you know, I just heard the word reunified, right? With every portal that we have, meaning like today, 7-7, right? We have another one coming up that is 7-1-7. That is specifically for twin flames. If you are wondering if you're on a real twin flame journey, I know y'all have seen all this, you know, bastardization and blah, blah, blah. You know, reach out to me, because I have been on a real twin flame journey for quite some time. And, you know, it's not always easy, but if it is a true twin flame journey, it's always blessed. You're always going to mirror the other person in a good way that encourages and supports each of you to evolve and level up for, you know, the next blessing, the next, you know, to be able to help people or what have you, again, for the good of Mother Earth and all her children. After 7-1-7, we are coming up on 7-27. So whoever scheduled 2 million veterans to clean house on the East Coast on 7-27 knew exactly what they were doing. And that means that they have the full support, not just of 144,000 angels on Earth, but all the rest of the angels that are up in the cosmos as well. Okay? So, you know, to quote Mama OD, it's gonna be good. I mean, this is gumbo right here. This is the good stuff. You add in what you like, you add in your spice, and the thing that makes it taste the best is being able to share it with people who not only are in need, but are going to appreciate and going to share it with others. That's what it is. All right. So if you want people, hey, what was that live you were watching? Who was that person? Oh, hey, she was passing out gumbo. And it was good. I put some Tabasco sauce in there. And it was perfect, right? And if you don't like spice, throw some sour cream in there, a little bit of that spice for you. You'll be just fine. So, this is what's going on here, all right? We are making gumbo. Everybody has something. Somebody has potatoes. Somebody has andouille sausage. Somebody has, celery, whatever it is, right? Whatever you got to share, even if all it is water. Got to have water to make gumbo, okay? Some of that water is going to come from, um, the stash you have in the fridge. Some of it's going to be your tears. And that's okay. If all you got to give right now is tears, those tears are going to water seeds of hope for better tomorrows. And that's okay too, you know? So there's no such thing. Some people right now are being called to action. Some people are being called to, contact, representatives. Some people are just being called to protect the children. And there's nothing small about that because our children are our future. If they're not safe, there is no future. And right now, they need to know that there are people willing to step up in gentle ways and strong ways to ensure that they not only have a future, but that they have access to the kind of future that they're going to need in order to contribute their piece of the puzzle. Every generation does something more and something better than the generation before them. That doesn't mean that, the baby boomers didn't contribute with their stuff. They did. That doesn't mean that, Generation X is any less than the baby boomers. It's not. Every single generation has something more to contribute because we are leveling up. It's kind of like, building a stairway to heaven, right? Every generation is putting a new um, stair on that staircase so that we can all go home. We're walking and flying each other home. That's what it is, right? So, if anybody else on here wants me to pull a card for you, like I said, I was guided to pull a card. I am going to pull a card for the people that can't join in person right now yet, the people that are going to watch after the fact. And that card is salmon. And I'm not surprised. So, if you know anything about salmon, not only did they just remove the dam so that the salmon can actually migrate again all the way to the Pacific Northwest at the exact same time that I got the message to come up here. One of my elders was Grandmother Agnes Baker Pilgrim. She was the keeper of the sacred ceremony for salmon ceremony for her people, the Siletz, that are also up here in Oregon. And she was also the matriarch for the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. So she's the one who sent us up here. I'm not surprised that we're getting salmon. Okay, so salmon is leap of faith. Anybody out there that eats fish, wild fish, if you're ever in a position where you feel stuck and you need some kind of sustenance to help you leap above and beyond obstacles, have some salmon. And I don't just mean, just bust out the salmon and eat it. I mean, actually say a prayer. Give thanks to the fish, for giving its life. Ask the spirit to help merge with your spirit so that you can leap above and beyond. Salmon swims against the current. They don't go with the flow. They swim on purpose against the current because their, how do you say, memory and instinct to get where they need to go in order to be able to connect with who they need to connect with to ensure that the next generation is just as strong is more powerful than anything that stands in their way. And that's the message right now, Bruce Lee used to say, be like water, right? Be like water without fluoride, flow like the water. You can be like water, but right now, you're going to find that a lot of people, a lot of fish in the ocean are swimming towards the nets, right? And you're just like, hey, I don't think we're supposed to be going that way. You know, if you don't believe me, watch Finding Nemo. We're not supposed to be swimming that way. We need to swim down. You know, we need to break the net so that everybody is free, right? That's the same thing with salmon. Salmon is not doesn't care if every single other fish is swimming in a certain direction. Salmon is hardwired, DNA, 144,000 angels, to swim opposite. So if people are giving you heck for swimming in the opposite direction, you know, they're perfectly content to swim towards the nets and get scooped up, right? And you're like, wait a minute, you know, been there, done that. Nah, I'm not gonna do that this lifetime. I'm gonna swim in the other direction and see what happens. Or I've been swimming towards the nets my whole life and I really don't want to get scooped up. So you know what? I'm gonna swim in the opposite direction, right? Call on salmon, because salmon is not only going to ensure that you're able to swim in the opposite direction, but that you're able to leap above and beyond any of those obstacles and arrive at your sacred destination. In order to connect with your sacred destiny and receive your sacred inheritance, aka divine inheritance, especially if you are a twin flame, in time and on time. And if you think about the card we started with, it was a deer, which is a number 4. This card is 49, which is a 13, which is also a number 4. 4 plus 4 is 8, which is infinity. So there is something that is coming that you are being guided to swim towards, even or go towards, even if nobody understands. Your destiny was not a conference call for a reason. If you're in a place right now, excuse me, and you're surrounded by hateful people that are doing their absolute best to try and destroy Mother Earth and all her children, and you are getting a message that you're supposed to be somewhere else with people that aren't trying to destroy Mother Earth and all her children, and you make a decision that you deserve better and you're going to go towards better for yourself. Every single angel in heaven and on earth is going to conspire with you to help that happen as quickly as possible. That's 369. That's the Tesla frequency, right? We were not put here to suffer, pay bills, work for someone else our entire life, get sick, and die. That's not why we're here. None of us. I don't care who you are. I don't care what sign you are. I don't care where you grew up. I don't care who told you what. This is not about working harder. This is about aligning yourself with where you are supposed to be so that you can work smarter for the good of Mother Earth and all her children. If you're a parent, your first job is protecting your kids. If you're not a parent, then you're classified, you know, as a clan father or a clan mother, right? You are being called to help protect the children even more because you don't have the added responsibility of, you know, being responsible for another life, right? So think about those good things that you did when you were a kid that, you know, took up hours of your time. You loved doing it, whether it was writing or singing or taking care of, you know, injured animals or pretending you had a veterinary clinic or whatever it was. You know, I'm not talking about all the twisted stuff that crept in later when you went to school, whatever. I'm talking about when you felt your innocence and your joy, because that's what's going to magnetize everything you need. You know, I don't care where you are in the world right now. You can be in the most war-torn country in the world. You can be in the most remote, wherever, where there's nobody. Your calling is your calling, and it's going to keep calling until you pick up the phone and you answer it. Because it's time and you're ready. You didn't come here to hide. You didn't come here to run. You didn't come here to water down your medicine, your magic, your whatever, right? So on days like this, from now on, 7-7, start looking at your calendar. These days are power days. Half of my lineage is Druid and the other half of my lineage is Native American. Put your feet in the ground. Connect with your ancestors. Put your left hand on your heart and feel your heartbeat. Because everything that got them through the hardest times, including, you know, people trying to erase them from the face of the earth and whatever else, right? All of that is stored in your heart. It's echoed in the drum beat in your heart, or whatever musical instrument that your ancestors used to stay connected to their ancestors. It's right there. And when you put your hand on that heart, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what's going on, you feel reconnected with that rhythm because you're never separated from that rhythm. There are people that want you to feel like you're separated from that rhythm so that they can take advantage of you and they can take advantage of your families and they can take your homes and everything else. But when you are connected with your ancestors, you're not by yourself. You may be one person, but you're surrounded by a million ancestors, a million angels that are here to help you accomplish everything that your soul came here to accomplish for the highest good. So I wish I could stay on here with y'all for forever. I can't because I have to get back to my other platform where I'm helping veterans get ready for all this amazing stuff that's going to be happening on the 27th. If anybody wants to, like I said, get a private reading from me, you have questions about past lives, Akashic records, twin flames, anybody has any relatives that are missing, reach out to me. Okay, this is what I do. Um, if anybody, felt, um, how do you say, inspired from this live and, you've been blessed, like I shared the story of the pizza in the beginning, you've been blessed with something that you can share towards, getting this place to help these kids that needed it yesterday and are going to need it even more tomorrow. My PayPal, or not my PayPal, my Cash App is on my definition. I never turn anyone away for lack of funds, but I always remind people that we're all in this together. You know, if all you have to spare is a prayer, then send a prayer. If you've been blessed with extra and, you're trying to figure out, well, what can I do to help kids? I don't even have kids, da, 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 and you're able to share, even $5, $10, $1, whatever you have towards this, it will be multiplied and brought back to you tenfold, if not more, because of that 8 vibration that we just brought in. Okay? So I'm going to try and go live a little bit more often. But like I said, the minute the clock hit 7:47 Pacific time, I was told go on YouTube, start pulling cards, help as many people as you can. You're going to see people donating you never even expected towards helping the foster children. And so, I'm grateful for all of the blessings, past, present, and future. You guys are all in my heart. You guys are all in my prayers. Like I said, if there's anything I can do to help you or your loved ones, let me know. Okay? All right. Everybody take care. Stay hydrated. Um, stay alert like the deer, but just remember, fear is false evidence appearing real. Faith is forward action, inspiring and insulating the heart. So you got this, and your ancestors got you. All right, I'll talk with you guys soon. Oma washte, hecheto alo. Oh, matakuya yase.